Hey, everybody. I'm glad you're here. You are at comping Cali-Rado. Give me,
Oh boy, my connection is not good.
give me 1 second, guys. I'm getting a crazy echo. Let's find out if it's Austin or if it's me. Give me 1 second, guys. Uh, Figured it out. All right. This is live. This happens. Welcome. This is comping what will now be called Cali-Rado because we want to bring you both of the hardest to comp states. That's California and Colorado. And we're joining up as a team to make this 1 hour where we can help you in both comping, looking at numbers, and all of that fun stuff. Renee is normally leading the boat here and usually does, but she is headed off to New York. And we're going to take her spot today and make sure that we take good care of you. We might also have Jaden Smith joining. He's amazing in the California market. And honestly, I'm just excited to see what today brings. I already see Lynn in the chat. Thank you for being here. I absolutely appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us and learn with us. If you have any addresses you want us to look over, I would greatly appreciate it. Guys, it's live. I'm always honest with you. It's been a weird day. And with us both being Colorado and with closed with Kickflip, we were hoping to have additional California support today with Jaden. And I imagine he will hopefully be here, but if he's not, we're going to be looking at the numbers with Austin. He also lives in California. Hey, Lynn. If nobody has any addresses for us to comp, we will probably sit here and talk about our business and bullshit, which I enjoy doing, but the whole purpose of being here is for you guys. So if you have questions about California or Colorado, whether that be a comp or just a theory question for us investors, that is what we're here for.
Yo.
Hey, Austin, I'm glad you're here. Did you get your connection rocking and rolling?
I think so. We shall see.
Good. Oh, fingers and toes crossed. Thank you, Lynn. Let's dive into LA. All right. I'm pulling up my all-time favorite place to comp. It's Privy. If you guys don't know about Privy, I'm happy to drop you a link. It is where we do all of our comping, and even myself as an agent use it because it's cleaner, it's easier, and I get accurate comps, which is the whole point.
Are you gonna share screen? Sorry, y'all.
Yes.
I'm in the same. It's been a long day. Bear with me.
We show up real, and sometimes in this business, days are just absolutely crazy. In fact, my computer's about to die, so I gotta fix that, y'all. All right, and then we'll pull up this address. And you'll probably hear my dogs chomping because it's so hot here today. They can't be outside like they normally are. Okay.
I have it pulled up, but if I share my screen, I don't think it's gonna work very well.
Totally got you. I'll share my screen here in 1 second. Do you want to just start talking about what you see though? Because
yeah. So immediately, I can tell you it's somewhere either mid sixes or mid sevens because everything that Privy populated is either mid sixes or mid sevens, and Privy Auto filters for you. So these are all somewhat comparable properties. Now it's just a matter of finding the most comparable property, essentially.
perfecto. Ooh, this is exciting because it looks like it's in a neighborhood of like properties. So 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1929. This is always what I'm looking at first. 1270 square feet. Comparables. Drop our butts down there. And then I want to see
I'd say,
sold.
okay, so the best comp that snags my eye immediately is that 770 right there. It's fairly similar. It's a tiny bit larger with an extra 2 bedrooms.
Hmm.
Based on that one and that 650 right there, which is a tad bit smaller right next to it, which is a
Yeah.
tad bit smaller. It's not super updated. But it is updated and it has only one bath. I'd say we have about a 700 house off a quick comp. We can dig a little deeper. That 650
Hmm.
is also close in year build. It's actually the same year build, and it's on the same street, which is why I like it. So those two stand out to me because they're right within walking distance of ours.
Hmm.
So it's very much still the same neighborhood. And as we know, LA can change very quickly, block by
I
block.
want to.
So
Let's see if we can get any more off of Zillow. I just want to triple check. I'll take you guys over there in a second.
I'm gonna. What are you looking for? Like the frontage?
Yeah, mostly because like the 770 has a slightly different style than I would expect it from the 650, and I
Yeah.
don't want that to skew it.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, this is definitely a Spanish style home. You can tell by what's on the left and right.
yeah. Percent. Hmm. Now I see how hard this is for Jamil to jump between Zillow and Privy. Shout out to the GOAT. Okay, this isn't giving us too much. I'm still gonna jump into walk around.
Mm. Privy's square footage and bed bath count is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna affect it. Should we see on DAR which one
Yeah.
is the standout?
Yeah. That's what I'm about to do right now.
Okay, perfect. We're checking on the National Association of Realtors database to see which one of the square footage actually matches what we have here. Because if, let's say, somebody inputted it with a basement square footage and they made it the full square footage, but it shouldn't actually be counted, or some nuance like that can really skew comps. And we have the time here today, y'all. I would be happy to really dig in.
Okay. First and foremost, though, before Lynn dives any deeper into this, I'm curious where she's at with it because this was sold off at foreclosure auction in September.
Of last year? Interesting.
Yeah. But that is the correct square footage what Zillow's showing. 1618.
Does it show you what it sold for at auction by chance?
545. Well, 544 and some change, but 545.
Okay.
Looks like it was on a reverse mortgage, so it sold exactly for what the reverse mortgage is. So it makes me feel like it wasn't at auction. The bank bought it back, so it's probably currently REO and going to auction.
Oh.
But the bank purchased it back for what the reverse mortgage was, which is 544, 185.
Ah, okay. Yeah, Lynn says the auction date is up and coming.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like it got foreclosed on in September, and the bank must have bought it back. I see it on NAR on the national, so I can share my screen and show you. Or Corian, can you pull it up
Yeah.
on NAR?
Yeah. I'll take you there with me. Hi, Jennifer. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Please drop any addresses we can take a look at for you. We'd be happy to. Oh, I was like, wow, how did I already look this up? Duh, we share an account. um,
I might be wrong. That might be just a notice that it's going to auction. Scroll down to sales and financing activity. It'll be down there.
Emily is calling upon him. Okay, he said scroll down to Ox. See, he does all of this most of the time for me. Notice of foreclosure. I just saw it. 544. I'm so curious. Is it already bought back by the bank and you are dealing with REO, or is it going to foreclosure and they've been like kicking the can down and you're actually talking to the seller? Because that's going to kind of change what you can do. Because if you're putting money in the seller's pocket and you can go about a traditional wholesale method, because I know that's your business line, I would like that for you. But if it is an REO, then we're talking about a much more complex way of being able to purchase and resell that property because it depends on what bank holds it.
I
It's
think it's
possible.
the latter. The reason that it's throwing me off is because the owner is still the owners of the property. We can't show
Yeah.
that because we'll get in trouble with YouTube, but it is the same. Like the owner who purchased it originally is still on tax records as the owner, which if it's sold in, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that's a notice of default, essentially. Well, it's not a notice of default. They got a notice of default for the 292, and then the bank said, okay, well, we're going to sell it off for the whole amount on this date, essentially.
Gotcha. Next, then I would probably do that. So you're talking directly to the seller. That's interesting. Yeah, they would need an incredibly quick close, but at the right price, as long as you're above the 544, which do you think it's possible to purchase it there, Austin? And actually like make the seller and the bank whole as they walk away from it? Or is the after repair value of the 750 that we're seeing causing the fact that we can't be above that 544?
I think it's close. Well, let me see here because Privy is showing me smaller properties. Can you pull it back up on Zillow?
Yes, I can. 1 second, because I want to keep my NAR open, so I'm going to reopen Zillow. Hey guys, I hope you're having like the best hump day ever, and your week is bringing you deals and contracts and closings. We're sending you that energy, and we're grateful you showed up here today. If I don't know you're here, because I only know that Lynn and Jennifer are here because they're the only ones that said hi, I would love at least an emoji of how you're feeling today, so I know who you are and I know where you're at. Okay, back up on Zillow, sharing with y'all.
Okay, so
All
my
right, what do you want to
assessment,
see?
I want to see the solds in the area right here on Zillow because
Gotcha.
Privy is limiting me to properties under 1,400 square feet.
Let me take out 2022 because I know some of these things that we're looking at are 2022. Can't I put it in sold date?
Yeah,
Sold in the last.
do 90 days. Let me see what that says.
Ooh, okay. Here I am shooting for a whole year.
What's that? 780 up there in the corner on 80th. It's a little
Three bed, two
larger.
bath, a little big. Let's look inside.
Let me see the inside.
Ha! Read your mind before you even asked.
Okay.
Looks like a white blank space.
Yeah, I'll see it on Privy. Hold on 1 second. It's definitely not flip quality.
I want to know what this.
A little bit bigger.
I don't know what this 890 is on a slightly bigger road. 3-bed, 3-bath, 1,600 square feet.
It's not comparable. It's a different style house.
Honestly, this feels like I'm actually looking at like reasonable home prices in LA. It's kind of blowing my mind. I guess they're small for this price range, but also reasonable.
Yeah, it's not a super duper great area of LA. So plays factor a little bit.
Ooh, have you seen this one? It's cute on the inside. It's not the same, style, which I understand has an effect. That's pretty
it's
good.
much smaller also.
And I'm trying to push the ARVs up to like 800 and see if we can help the seller out. That's my MO.
Yeah, I mean, I think an 800 is definitely reasonable. I think that's conservative. Because if that one sold at what, 760? And it's 600 square feet smaller.
Yes, I am listening. I'm also parenting 2 rambunctious dogs. Lay down.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the condition if you can come up that high. But that one, if you go out of here and extend the sold in the last to like go back to 12 months, because this one sold in January that I'm looking at. It's up there on 80th, so it's going to be next to that 780. Yep, that's 650 right there.
Oh.
Is an original condition, and it's sold for 650. So,
okay.
Depending on what this particular house looks like inside, and it's a Spanish style. So, I mean, if this was fixed, this would be my comp. It's not fixed, so it's a little loose as a comp. But I mean, knowing LA, if you do, let's just call it an 800 for conservative purposes. At 70% puts you like 560. I don't know the exact percentage where people are buying in LA, so buy number is going to be very loose from me. But I mean, 70% of 800K is 560. I think that's a conservative ARV. They bought this one in original condition at 650. Let me see if it was an investor. It was not. It was not an investor, but it shows that a homeowner is willing to pay $650 for something in original condition from the 30s. So you have some wiggle room here.
Okay, Lynn, all this says is that you could help this seller and actually get this deal done. The thing is, they're not going to walk away with a lot of cash in their pocket. But the beauty is they will walk away with some cash in their pocket instead of the bank doing that. So, all depends on motivation and negotiation as to, where you can land. But we also know that you could take it to 650 if you had the time for a retail buyer. Obviously, you don't, so don't go that route. But the window is there, so I hope this is helpful. And honestly, when it comes to pre-foreclosures with a auction date that's this soon, the reasoning behind it is way too clear. Because even if you looked at the bank taking that back and then taking it to auction, the bank is going to make the difference between that 544 or whatever they're owed and where they sell it at instead of the sellers. So if you can cut that window and that time and actually put it into their pocket, it's one of the reasons I love doing this. Like, honestly, they shouldn't, it sucks they're in that pickle, but being able to actually walk away more in control than losing something to a bank is huge. So I hope you can help them out. Let me know how it goes. Hi, everybody that's here. Thank you for taking your time to be at Comping Cali-Rado because we bring you both California and Colorado. We will always be at this time on Wednesdays and bringing you both states. Our whole goal is to add value. In a lot of ways, comping is an art, not a science. And so having additional eyes that are looking at properties, are kind of dissecting for you, are helping you nail down that number is 100% our goal. And it's not just numbers, it's also how do you approach a property. So if there's any way we can add value and you've got a address that we can look at right now, that would be wonderful. I would absolutely love to help you out and be a second pair of eyes. If you don't know who I am, my name is Corianne Wright. I am licensed in the state of Colorado as a realtor, but first and foremost, I am an investor and a cash buyer. I also wholesale. You can find me doing all of these things in Colorado. And then on top of that, I will help you sell your land nationwide. So these are the things that can bring you guys value. And if you need me, you can email the wonderful deals at Closed with Kickflip because Austin's faster at emails than I am.
Yes, everything she just said. Sorry, I am I am trying to respond to this email.
That's perfect. This is who we are. Like, it's funny because one, we're a little exhausted today. It's been a long day for both of us. It's the first time we've seen each other. And also, we're business partners. And this is the reason why, is because I would love to talk to people all day, any day. And Austin will give you numbers before he will let you talk to him for longer than 10 minutes. So I love that. I mean, I love that about us because it also means that if for any reason need somebody to come in like hammer swinging because my conversation didn't go well with my nice sweetness, I just pass it off to my business partner. It's kind of one of the best things.
Oh, this agent is nuts. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a Colorado one that we can look at, but
please.
It's Privy pulls no comps immediately, so it tells me it's not a probably not a deal here. Oh yeah, never mind. They're priced 200K higher than anything else in the neighborhood. So.
Oh really? For how long?
Yeah. 345 days. Agents, you need to do better.
Told them in 345 days that they're overpriced.
Yeah, well, the problem is the seller.
To any of them?
Well, the problem is the seller painted the living room and did one bathroom extremely beautiful and left everything else exactly how it was in 1947. And to them, they have nicest home in the neighborhood.
Can we kind of dissect, like, when is it worth having that conversation, especially when they've been on market that long? Like, what's your cutoff times versus when are appropriate times?
I have an unpopular opinion on this, so take it with a grain of salt. But I'm of the opinion if it's been on the market over 100 days, whatever offer you're going to put in front of them, they've seen. Is there something to be said about timing? Yes, but also if they've been on the market for 345 days, they've seen your offer 50 times over, likely, if it's in a good area. And if they've done no price drops, like this one, for example, started at 750 in August or May of last year, in a whole year, they've only came down to 650. So motivation isn't here. That's my take on it. I don't really think it's the best use of your time to go after stuff that's been sitting for months and months and months and months. But everybody has a different take. Have I seen people go look at these deals and go lock them up $300,000 lower than they're listed? 100%. But
Mm-hmm.
bogs the question: how many of these did they have to call before doing that?
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a conversation with the agent directly, and basically play the blame game on the seller and tell them if they have a more reasonable seller, please call me.
That 100%, like, worth the conversation with the agent and kind of creating trust. I also say that sellers, when they're past that time of the 345 days or etc., you can strike it, reverse it. Like if the listing just went down and you can go direct to seller, I'm licensed, so I can't do that unless the listing is expired. If you do that, I've found that sellers are interested all of a sudden because they're hearing a new voice, and that new voice is saying, hey, that person was clearly just trying to make you happy. I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to tell you the truth. You want to know what the truth is?
Yeah.
And I've had buyers come to me directly and say, how did you get this property? Because I've offered on it 3 to 4 times before. And the answer is I called at the right time. So it's kind of a weird like balance of we've got to understand how they're probably thinking and how they're probably
Yeah.
moving at any given time and put ourselves in that situation. But it certainly can also be sort of the luck of the time that you're calling, the luck of the draw.
Yeah, and like this one specifically, I have a relationship with the agent, so I am going to dig a little deeper on it. But like, if I were to just see this on the MLS, I would immediately pass. But given the relationship with the agent, I'm going to have the conversation of like, you're overpriced. You know this, yes, and see where it goes from there. Because 9 times out of 10, if an agent's sitting on the market for 300 days, they're aware that they're overpriced. You'd have to be, for lack of a better word, slightly psychotic to think a homeowner's just going to come out of the wilderness and pay 200K more than anybody else has paid in the neighborhood. But you never know. And I mean that in the most least disrespectful way possible. But, at some point, it's like, come on.
100%. And I mean, Robert has it like spot on. If there's no
Yeah.
pain there, then we can't solve solutions. And our
Yeah.
whole
It's,
goal here is to bring value by actually solving difficult properties. If it's not difficult, then I'm not the gal for you.
yeah. And it's like the one in Wash Park that we're working right now. It's exactly that. They don't have paint. It's paid off. Dad left them inheritance to pay for the taxes and the property insurance and any payments attached to the house. They have emotional equity. They want retail or nothing, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So, I mean, in most cases, I don't think it's really worth your time if they've been sitting for a long time, unless it's like Corianne said. If you have a conversation with the agent, talk to them. If the agent's like, no, we're priced exactly where we need to be priced, then just leave it alone. However, if you call the agent and the agent is like, hey, no, I'm very aware we're overpriced, the seller, rah, 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 then you and the agent can kind of be on the same page here and try to have a reasonable conversation with the seller.
Or FSBOs too. Like FSBOs, like I would still call them even if they've been sitting there forever and find out if other people have told them the truth and then just kind of like back it up.
Yeah, well, that's the situation in the Wash Park. It was FSBO for 150 days before the agent got hands on it.
I want to jump into Jennifer's question and kind of like break it down. But before we do, I just want to note that you and I do something that's very unique that I think is kind of controversial for most people. And that's if our number is lower than another number that the agent says they have, we say, take that number and run. And we legitimately are like, please just take that offer and go with it. And if they happen to fall out of contract, please give us a call because we know the numbers that this is going to work. And I think that's really useful because agents start to just know that they can trust that you're not out here to try to convince them of your way only, but you're kind of solid. Speak to that.
Yeah, and I mean, just to touch on it, the guys, if you're under contract and you need to renegotiate or whatever the case is, and the agent or seller or whatever is like, hey, no, I have 5 offers in hand much higher than yours. This has never failed me. Tell them, walk the property. Have those people walk the property. I'm willing to let them in the door while I'm under contract. If they still beat my offer on good terms and they're ready to close and proof of funds and get, like, you know what I mean? They're ready to move forward. I'm not going to hold you up on this. I want you to make the most. I want your seller to make the most. We can do more deals in the future. I've done it probably 30 times. I've never had one of those offers be a real offer. So
Mhm.
don't
And then they come
let
back to
the
you and give you your price drop.
exactly. So don't let we have higher offers scare you off from the property. Just let them know, like, hey, look, I'm not. If you have a better offer, if somebody can give you more than I can, great. But I want you to have them walk before you disregard mine completely, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to give you an offer, they're going to get in the door, and that offer is not going to stick.
Yeah.
Especially if you're already under
All right.
contract and your buyers have given you feedback.
Exactly. All right, we're going to jump into Jennifer's question. Just a reminder to all the newbies that just joined, we're on comping Cali-Rado, where we'll comp both California and Colorado if you drop an address. But in the meantime, nobody seems to have any addresses they need any work on. So we're happy to answer questions about our business and what's going on in the meantime. Jennifer, I don't know the answer to this question as to the absolute best area in the US to wholesale right now, but I'll show you how I would get that answer. And we're going to go to Privy, my all-time favorite place to comp. And the reason I can go to Privy to answer that question is twofold. One, I highly suggest you comp from Privy if you're new in this business, because it presents comps in a clean way. It gives you accurate comps. I love Privy, and I'm licensed. I can access the MLS and its comps, and I promise you, I prefer these. That being said, it also has MLS access. So in the areas that you're seeing blue, that's where it's linked to the MLS, and you're able to see some of the private remarks, and you're going to get better data immediately. So first and foremost, I would say I've got to be in the blue. I've got to be on Privy, because I know Privy's already done all the market research to find out where some of the best markets are. And then on top of that, they went and they contracted those MLSs so that you would have this access. So I would just pick one from there, first and foremost. Now let's narrow it down. In our business, as investors who are trying to bring value to flippers or other investors, our main goal is to have clients to serve. So where there's a lot of movement and activity, it means that there are buyers there. And with those buyers, those are the ones that I want to go then find properties for. Then I go find the product for the clients I have. So that's important.
Well,
You'd have to have buyers. What you got?
I wouldn't base it solely off that, because I can tell you right now, if you're looking for where the most flips are happening, it's Florida, across the board.
Right. I was going to
It's
get into
not the
that.
market for everybody. It really depends. Like, this is a very loaded question, in my opinion, because there's no right answer, right? Like, I know people doing $1 million a year in Idaho. Who lives in Idaho? There's like 100 people there, you know? So, like,
It's more than 100.
yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't pick, like, Nebraska, but any major city is good for wholesale. Just make sure that the laws are in your favor. I'd stay away from anywhere that requires licensing or requires double closes or makes you jump through extra hoops. But for the most part, it really just depends. I mean, it depends on your time frame. If you live on the East Coast and you have a W-2, I'd say pick somewhere on the West Coast, because then you have 3 extra hours after work that it's still, it's 8 o'clock over there. It's still 5 p.m. here. Or on the flip side, if you work at night, I'd pick the East Coast if you live on the West Coast, because then you get
Yeah.
those early hours that nobody else can work. So it's a loaded question. I mean, it depends on your time. It depends on, if you want to be local, if you have the way that I've always picked my markets is, where would I invest my money? Where do I want to do business? as a flipper, as a buy and hold investor, as all these things.
Mm.
Reason being, if I'm going to pour, 6 months into learning a market like the back of my hand, doesn't really make sense for me to do that, for then me to build up my capital, go take a flip down, and now I have to learn a whole different market. If that makes any sense. Like, I live in California. I don't know the California market. I would do a Colorado flip way before I do a California flip. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
okay, take the words right out of my mouth. I honestly, we share a brain sometimes, because I was going to kind of break down that once you've identified that at least it's a warm enough market, it's really more about exactly what Austin says, and then getting to know the other players in that market. I'm very curious. What markets are you considering, Jennifer? And
considering Florida.
oh, interesting. That's like a whole nother kit and caboodle. I see somebody on the backstage that I want to bring up here, guys. I'm so excited. Jaden Smith is here, holding down our California fort.
Hey guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey,
Thank
how
God
are
there's
you?
more Cali addresses too.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
First and foremost, I can hear you great. You sound awesome. Apologies from me live to you that I didn't get you this link in
No, it's
appropriate
okay.
time and via
It
text.
happened.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Well, we're glad you're here because Renee is traveling to New York, and we know Colorado better than we know California, but we're combining these things into comping Cali-Rado, which will be its standing name, and this is its standing time on Wednesdays, so mark it down in your calendar. But we're just answering a few questions, and we actually just got another address, so I definitely want to pop over to that. But to finish the conversation with Jennifer, who wants to know where she should be doing wholesaling, she said she's been in New Jersey, considered going to Florida, but she's in California. Knowing that California is such a hot market, wouldn't you probably say stay where you are? Because the kind of communication and conversations that you can have in real life are so powerful. I'd be really interested in your thoughts on this in general, Jaden, because you've been in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. I've been I feel like in California especially, there's a lot of people who maybe a little bit more scared to take on the market just because of outside opinions. Like, I know a lot of people who live out here, but this isn't their market. And that kind of, I just got thrown into this market. I didn't even know you could switch markets when I first started wholesaling. And then eventually when I found out you could, I was like, I was starting to listen to the people who told me oh, California's too tough. Like, go to somewhere where the prices are cheaper, where it's a hotter market. So I went to North Carolina for that. Maybe lasted about a week, and I was like, honestly, I'd rather be in California because this is my backyard. I know the area way better. Like, learning a whole new market would be way more difficult than me just continuing to go. So I think it really depends on how much you've done in New Jersey. Like, if you already have those relationships and you already know the market and you're already pretty good at it, and I would maybe say stay. Florida's hot. I mean, really every market, most markets, maybe not South Carolina as much anymore, but most markets are going to be great anyways. And everything works. Like, if you're doing something, obviously there's people doing deals all over the US. So there's going to be, like, in California, you may not do 15 deals like you would do in Florida, but in California, maybe the market and the spreads are going to be a little bit bigger. Maybe you're doing a 25, 40, 50, $60,000 deal. And in Florida, you're doing $5,000 deals. So that's kind of my opinion as well. It's like, I would stay if you're in New Jersey and maybe it's not working out and you gave it a lot of shots and you are considering something else, then I would go, in my opinion, like, if I'm switching, I would go to wherever there's the most people doing deals. So Florida, Arizona, that's my opinion. Because I would want to be, if there's people doing deals, there's deals being done, and you can also JV with them and work with them to get your deals.
Yeah, and actually, Jennifer, your last comment changes my opinion completely. I would say definitely don't leave California. If you've done a couple dozen flips out here, you're licensed out here, there's no reason for you to go do business elsewhere. I would stick to where because if you've done a couple dozen flips and they've gone well, You know the market. You clearly know your numbers. You, as a buyer, can evaluate a deal better than 99% of the wholesalers out there. And you're licensed. So getting realtors to work with you is going to be exponentially easier than somebody who's not. There's no plus that I see of you leaving California, because now you just have to go learn a whole new market when you clearly know this one very well. That's my take on it. I don't know if Corianne has a different one.
I always have opinions. I'm here for it. I mean, the three that you're considering and have worked in, you already said exactly what I would say in terms of New Jersey. Is I've been there, I've called there. Unless you're living in New Jersey and understand the mob wife kind of mentality and can play in that zone, which I'm so Midwestern I couldn't, get out. And then when it's down to Florida and California, it feels like exactly aligned with my own story, which I'm licensed in Colorado. I originally started working in the Colorado market. Then I wasn't quite sure how to play as both an agent and an investor. And so I was like trying to figure that out. So I went to Florida for a little while. I did a few deals in Florida. But here's the thing, that kind of break in your brain in terms of the way that those states move differently. And one of them you're licensed in and can be a high level player. And the other one, you are a small fish with a lot of other fish playing in Florida. There's a ton. I wouldn't split your brain like that. I would go all in on California. You already do your own flips. You already list your own flips, I'm sure. And you know other agents, and agents trust agents. So you can, let them know, hey, not only am I licensed and we could do referral deals, but I could also be a cash buyer that communicates well. And obviously, I play well because I have to protect my license. And people are going to go, you know what? You're right. I'm going to talk to her first about the next deal that's up and coming. So I don't know. To me, it sounds like you got to hang out with us here in Cali-Rado and stick to California.
I agree. I'm curious though, did you read her comment about the mafia wife, or did you have your own experience?
Oh, I had my own experiences, a few of them calling New Jersey. I just did not like New Jersey, honestly. But I know a lot of good players there, and everybody that's a good player specifically there lives there or lives in New York and kind of, plays within that sphere. And I think that's helpful. But yeah, no, I had my own experiences of just the weirdest phone calls. And that's when I realized I was painfully Midwestern. All right.
Before we
Julian's
jump into
got a
this,
comp.
I do want to answer Salah's question. I can answer it while Jaden, if you want to pull up that San Bernardino address. Again, very loaded question. These are questions that don't really have clear-cut answers to them. Our strategy, we work with agents, obviously, but we do a little bit of everything. We have VIP agents that don't necessarily act as the rest of our agents. Like they'll go do the direct to seller for us. They'll call the expired listings. So it's a little bit of everything. I think agents are still the way to go. I mean, direct to seller, there's money there for sure. It's a very scalable model. However, I'll always be an advocate of like agents can attest to this. How many sellers do you work with more than once or twice? Not very many. I'd rather do 100 deals with one agent than have to go find 100 sellers is my take on it. And once an agent likes you, they'll talk about, I have whole brokerages that know my name just based off a conversation with one agent in there. And other agents will randomly cold call me and be like, hey, we just got a fixer. Everybody in my office talks highly of you. Would you like first look at it? So I think relationship game is the way to go. And I think the best way is for agents. I'm curious what you guys' take on this is also. Because Corianne, you are an agent. So I know you've done the direct to seller. You've done everything else.
I think that one of the things we don't talk about very often is that it's not every agent. Like not every agent is good at their job. It's a service job, which in the same way where you go to Applebee's, you might get a great server or you might get a real shit one. They're out there in like the same capacity. So you want to vet the agents that you're talking to on whether or not they're calling sellers. Like that's the line that you need. That's the funnel you need. But if you're talking to agents that are just looking at the MLS in the morning, that are just telling their church friends that sometimes they'll sell a property, don't spend your time pouring energy into those kinds of agents, you want to know 5 good agents that's calling 10 sellers a week. Because if they're going to come to you first, if one of those sellers out of those 50 sellers they just talked to is distressed or difficult or something they can't list, and the percentage is probably like 10-20% of those sellers are not quick, easy listings. And that might be a low conservative number. But that's what you need. So I say that like the fastest way to the money out of all the different things that Austin and I do in our business is talking to a good agent and getting that connection.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful.
Quick, like one-liner to get you out of agents just bombarding you with MLS deals. Even it doesn't even have to be true. It could be a white lie. It works for me because it is true for me, but I've seen an exponential difference in, hey, just so you know, my partner is an agent, so we have a ton of our own MLS searches set up. So if it's on the MLS, there's a 99% chance I've seen it. However, we do miss stuff. So if you send it over and I haven't, if I think it's a good deal and I haven't seen it, more than happy to work it with you. That leaves the door open to, if you see a good deal on the MLS, there is a chance that I haven't seen it, but also closes the drip campaigns and them running amok on the MLS, sending you everything they see.
I think Jaden's agreed with everything. He's just
No, I
going,
agree. I do agree. I think for me, agents for sure. I think the fastest way for me has been just MLS outreach. Is going to be low hanging fruit. Just finding, you're really just looking for motivation at that point. So you're just calling a list of MLS properties and finding out which ones are motivated, and you'll come across one. Like I came across one that was listed like 14 days. And it was listed like 560, and they're like, "Hey, this seller will take like 450 if you're ready to go," and it ended up being a deal at that price. So it's just coming across those deals, and it's gonna take, like, obviously that was rare, but it's just calling enough properties where you find the people who are motivated, where you can put the deals together. So that's gonna be the fastest way. And then of course for me, I've done direct sale as well, agents. Just having that relationship, like Austin said, where you can do multiple deals with one agent is way more worth it for me than doing one deal with one seller.
Yeah, and I would agree. If you have any kind of a time crunch and or if you just don't want to cold call all day, I'd say MLS outreach is the way to go, because also there's a flip side to that coin, right? If they have an ugly property listed, they got that listing somehow, and chances are they'll have another one eventually. So if you become their favorite investor, or like Jaden, if you performed on that deal, I'm sure that agent's like, hey, next time I'm gonna just call this guy. We can ignore the whole go to the market, me have to do a bunch of paperwork, put it in the MLS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
Should
right.
we get into comping this property?
Yep.
Yes, please. Would you be willing to share your screen and what you're looking at?
Of course. Let me share screen. Okay. Let me know if you can see it.
Corey, you got to pull it up.
Not yet, but this is my moment to shine. Sorry. Voila. Can you see it? We can see it now.
Okay, cool.
It's rocking and rolling.
All right, so Northeast Street, San Bernardino. Just really quickly kind of looking at the pictures, see what type of condition it's in. It looks like it's going to need a full bed. Pool needs to be done, windows, all the things, which is good. So going down here, I use Privy to comp all my properties. I just like the layout of it the best, rather than Zillow and Redfin, but you can use whatever you like. So looking closely here, let's do settings. Let's just go all so we can see all the properties that have sold. One of the first things I do is I'll go and draw some guidelines, because again, when comping, we don't want to cross any major roads. So if we look here, what is this? Electric Ave looks to be a pretty major road. So we're going to just do a quick guideline draw so we can, let me zoom in a little bit. So we can stay within the boundaries. It makes it just a little bit easier to comp. So I'm just going to come down here and go across. And luckily there's a good amount of properties that have sold in this area, in this little box. So I'm sure we'll be able to find something good. So now we're going to go to solds. I like to first sort it from the most recent sale. So we're going to go and sort them. So now this last sale was on the 25th. And so then again, I just kind of go down the line. So we want to stay within 10-year build, up or down of the year build. We want to stay within 25 to 3,000 square feet of the lot. You want to stay within, if it's 1 story, stay with 1 stories, 2 stories with 2 stories. You want to do one, 2 garage. You can adjust up and down for this. Bed and bath, you want to stay within the same. And then square footage, I try to stay within 300 square feet plus or minus. So the first one, let's see what this one is. This one actually looks pretty good. It's a 47-year build, 9,000 square feet, single story. It's a 3-2, so we actually have an extra bedroom. Sold for $490,000 square feet. And let's take a look at the pictures and kind of see what condition it was in. Oh, nice. Okay, so this one, you can tell they have new floors, new kitchen. You can tell this one was remodeled. They did a pretty nice job on it. Might have been a flip. Let's see. If we scroll down to the bottom, yeah, you can see Local Investments Direct LLC. They bought it for $300, and they obviously sold it recently for $490. Let's see what else we can find. That'll see if we can find maybe 2 or 3 more. That'll kind of prove. But right now we're looking around a $490 on the back end.
I'm curious how you adjust for the pool.
For the pool, I will. So in certain areas in California, it does adjust. Like if you're in Palm Springs and you have a pool, that's going to be 60, 70, 80,000 up or down. In San Bernardino, I typically adjust 10 to 15 up or down for a pool.
Okay.
So let's see. We have this one that's sold for 410, 858 square feet. Let's see what else we got. 480. So this one's 1,200 square feet, 4-1, 1955. So this is actually right next to our property, which will also be one of the first things when you're selling a deal an investor is going to look at, because this is a lot closer. 200 square feet bigger, 4-1, 7,200 square feet, and a 55 build. Let's see the condition of this one. This one's clean. Doesn't look like it was obviously flipped or remodeled, but still 480. See what else we can find.
Crooked elevation picture is ridiculous.
We have a 455. This one looks to be also maybe a little bit dated. See if we can find anything else. 61 build, so for 505. Let's see. Not too bad. So far that 490 that just sold is looking like our best comp. We have a 445, a little bit smaller. Let's keep going. That's this one, 550. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit further back, which also with that one just selling, it's looking like a very good comp for us. Let's see what this 500 is.
I'm curious, Jaden, how do you set your comp settings? Is it the poll that Privy does? Like if you hit reset, you would get this as well? Or do you set something specific?
Yeah. The only thing I do different is I'll put all so that it shows me all, because Privy will obviously, it'll try and almost give you the best comps that they think is the best based on the comping rules, for example. So like they'll try and stay within very close of square feet, bed and bath and things like that. And so for me, sometimes, I mean, it's technology. Sometimes it misses stuff. So the first thing I do is I want to see everything and see where we're at. And sometimes also like if it may be a better opportunity for an addition play, I want to see what those comps are looking like. In this situation, it's a better opportunity because there's a lot of 1,000 square feet homes in this area that are selling. It may not be the highest and best use to add square feet. But in those situations in LA and things like that, I want to see those properties. So that's why the first thing I do is I just go to all and make sure I can see all of them. Okay. So I think we're looking good. Let's see what this one is. This one doesn't have any pictures. The interior. Let's see if they have anything on. It does look like from the pictures it could be nice. Let's see. Sometimes on different websites they'll show, but on this one it doesn't. So that's okay. So we're gonna use this 490. And what we're going to do is we're going to adjust just a little bit for an extra bedroom. And so I would adjust 25,000 upwards for our subject having an extra bedroom. which would put us at 515. Now, if this one right here is remodeled, I can see it being remodeled because it's sold for 520. It's a 4.2 as well, 56 build. So that puts us as well close. Now, I don't know 100% if it's remodeled just because there's no pictures. So we're going to use a 515. Let's see if we have a detached garage. There might be some other adjustments we need to make. Can't tell. Let's see.
Looks like it may just be a carport.
Yeah, it is a carport.
It's unlikely with the pool back there.
And then with this other property, I believe that it doesn't have a pool, correct? Yeah, no pool. So, and then with their decoration, so I would still call it. I would adjust up 15,000 for a pool, putting us at, and then I would also take off 10,000 for the carport. So that would put us at a 520 ARV. So let's see what that takes us. So with this property, it is needing a good amount of work. I would honestly probably call this, I'd probably call it between $80 and $100 a square foot, especially for the pool with the windows. You're going to probably need to do everything. So let's call it 100. So let's call it basically 100 grand. And it's always better to be more conservative than not, because you're not going to have a 100% accurate number. But if you're a little more conservative, either you're going to make a little bit more, or you'll be able to fit in those buyers who their estimates come in a little bit higher. So at 520, we're going to take that times 83%. And where that number comes from is you're taking 10% out. Most investors out here try to make at least 10% on profit. So in this situation at 520, they would be looking to make about 52 grand. And then you want to take out the selling costs and closing costs and commission, which I calculated about 7%. And so that's where that 83% comes from. So 520 times 0.83, that takes us to 430. And then minus 100K takes us to 331. Now, with this property, you can obviously see that it was listed at 335. If you go down, I would imagine it went pretty quick. Yeah. So it was listed on the 14th, and by the 25th, it was already pending, which they listed it at a pretty good price point at 331. If you are wholesaling this and you were coming in, if it was still active, and you were coming into this property, I would want to make sure. So that 331 number is not including a wholesale fee. So the next step would be taking out your assignment fee from that number. That 331 number is basically stating where an investor could pick it up and make their 10% after all the fees and after the rehab deducted. So that's kind of why it was priced very well, because if it's an investor and you're not wholesaling it, I can see it making sense. If you're a wholesaler, like let's say, I mean, you could probably squeeze them up to 335 for them to purchase it. But with it being listed on the market, when you are going after properties you want to wholesale, you want to make sure that you're adding value to the investor. And so if you bring them something at 335 or even a little bit above the price point, trying to sell it to them, it's going to be it's not impossible if you get it 2-3 days on market, but it's going to be a lot more difficult to sell them on that because it's on the market. Now, you can try and see if you can get them to take it off the market, just by asking them. Like I've said different things like, hey, I wanted to see if you can put this on hold or on inactive, just because for my financial partners, they typically prefer off-market properties, and this one is on the market. I just wanted for them they'll be okay with it being on active and hold, and that's worked. I've also used like, hey, my lenders or my hard money lenders will typically look at the list price to give me a number on how much they'll be able to lend me, and they'll typically use that as a reference point. But I'm going to need more than the list price because of how much it's going to need. Would you be able to put it on hold? Or I've used, hey, on the back end, I've had trouble with appraisals, with them knowing how much I purchased it for. All these things that you can kind of use if you're coming in, if it's taken off the market pretty quickly. Now, with that being said, if it's not, and you can't get them to take it off the market, you would want to, like, depending on how many days it's on market, if you're under 15 days, I would want to be selling this for around like 320, just because now it's showing the investor like, hey, it was listed at 335. I'm getting this to you at 320. It was a really good deal. So yeah, on this property, I would maybe offer between 310 and 315.
I'm gonna nickname you like Ninja or something. You like come in right at the end, you're like chop 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 with the comps, and then we're like out. What do you got, Austin?
I'm curious if Julian, the one that put it in the chat, is the contract holder on this.
Yeah. Hopefully you got it at the right price.
Yeah,
Let
it's
us
a good,
know if
it's
you're
a good
still in the
deal.
chat.
And San Bernardino's hot. There's people, because of the price point, there's investors that'll pay a good amount because they're in and out. It's 1,000 square foot property. It's quick sale on the back end because there's going to be a lot more homeowners at this price point right now than in $7, $8, $9 million homes.
Beautiful. And do you work dispo in your own business, Jaden, or are you all
I do,
acquisition?
yeah. I do both. I obviously, because I'm more act heavy, but I do dispo as well.
And if somebody's watching this from California and either has that at the right price or has another property at the right price, how should they get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can contact me for my phone number, which is 909-329-0482.
Digits. Awesome. Well, our hour is already up, which is incredible. It went so quick. And Jaden, we're going to have you back, no doubt. I am so impressed by your California comping. And honestly, you're welcome anytime you want to come hang out with us. Today was a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody that hung out, even though we had some tech issues at the start, even though we were just chatting back and forth. Really, our goal is to be of value to you and your business because we've learned, the three of us here, that you get further faster together, and working with your friends and having additional set of eyes to look at your properties can be so helpful. So put it on your calendar, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. PST or 4 p.m. MST. We're here to help you with comping Cali-Rado. It's going to take me a minute to get used to saying that. Thank you guys. I appreciate all your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Woo!